What's up, guys? Welcome to the Start Today podcast. I am your host, Chris Cavallini, and today I'm honored to have my boy in the building, my co-host, Rick Schaff. Rick, what's happening?
Hey, man, it's good to be back here, huh? It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where we need to, you need to do a better job making sure that I do a better job, not having my head in my.
I will do it.
Yeah, but it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good
in this capacity. Always enjoy when you're in the house. I think the conversation's just a little different. You tend to bring the best out of me. And, today, I don't want to waste any time. The people have come to us for a reason. Although you're my co-host, I honestly couldn't think of a better person to actually have sit in on this topic for this discussion, because you, my friend, are probably, without question, the least stressed person that I know, at least on the surface.
Yeah.
And, I noticed that about you from when we met day one, many years ago. Very chill, always composed. I don't know that I've ever actually seen you angry. I've seen you a little irritated, of course. We've known each other a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I get angry like anybody else.
Yeah.
But I did create a lifestyle for myself that created a lot less stress. But as we all know, the only thing that doesn't change is that everything changes.
Yeah. And that's just exactly what it is that we're going to talk about today, guys. Because I think that a very underrated, under talked about topic, and this goes for me, I think I, have failed my audience and, followers just miserably by not discussing this more. I think, I put out certain information about some of the things that I do, but I don't know that I've ever presented it like this.
Yeah.
But guys, today we're going to talk about stress management. Okay, we're going to talk about stress management, why it's important, and some things that you can do to basically give you the ability to confront stress better. Because, spoiler alert, we don't get away from stress. Stress doesn't go away. It doesn't, matter what our circumstances are throughout life. We're going to deal with stress. That is a certainty of life.
Yep.
So what's important is that, we're able to deal with that stress the right way, to where it doesn't essentially fuck our shit up.
Yeah. And we've all seen it. I've seen it a lot in my career early on, people losing their freaking mind over something and wasting a lot of time and a lot of money. When
you perhaps maybe have seen this not so early in your career, some years ago when I was going through some tough times. And again, there's been tough times at every level, but I think, 5 years ago, the way I dealt with things was a little different. And it was simply because my ability to thrive under stressful conditions just simply wasn't where I needed it to be. When you're growing a business and you're trying to make things happen, you're going to be confronted with stress. So what's important is that, you have the ability to deal with that stress to where it doesn't basically short circuit your neurochemistry to the point where you can't make sound decisions that are, in your own best interest to essentially get rid of the stress or eliminate the stress altogether.
Yeah, you got to be able to handle it, or else you're going to do stupid things, right?
Listen, if you can't handle the pressure when the heat's turned up, you're going to get stomped on your entire life. Okay? You're going to get stomped on your entire life, and you will lose every single time that somebody that is able to deal with stress. Yeah. Because that's the thing, a lot of times soft people, and look, society has gotten soft to a large degree. It's not people's fault specifically that, it's materialized that way. Obviously, as technologies has advanced, times have modernized, things have become a lot more convenient. Standards of living are just a lot different. And as a result, it's essentially created a generation of
very comfortable society.
Yeah, exactly. The more comfort that we have, really,
which sounds good, huh? But the reality is it's not so good.
It's not good. Yeah. I mean, it's not good, because the more comfort we have, the less capable we are to deal with situations that are not ideal. Yeah. And look, plan on that. Things are not always going to be ideal. And, when those situations materialize, when something happens, you have to be prepared. And I think a lot of people probably think that some people just, man, that guy, can take a lot. That guy's a beast. That guy, how does he deal with all that? The fact is, like, a lot of people, myself included, I have to do this. This isn't something necessarily that, like, I want to do. I suppose I want to do it because I need this benefit, but it's not something that, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of energy. Like, the time that I invest and allocate every week towards stress management and stress management techniques, like, it's a lot. And it can be, that can even become overwhelming. I can be at a point where I feel overwhelmed and stressed, and it's like, oh, I gotta stretch. I gotta do a sauna. I'm supposed to do breath work this morning. Like, but you do it because you realize that, not only is it going to make you just a healthier individual, there's a ton of health benefits associated with the different stress management techniques we'll discuss today, but it's also going to give me the competitive edge as far as being able to deal with stress and be able to navigate my way through it, even when stress levels are high.
Yeah, it seems overwhelming to do all that stuff, but then when you need it, ooh, it's a good payoff.
Exactly. Huh? You got to be prepared. And listen, the further you want to go in life, the more capable and able you have to be to deal with stress. Yeah. Because at every level, you're going to confront some form of adversity and some form of pressure, some stressful situation that you have to have, the ability and fortitude to essentially push through and not crumble when, the pressure's turned up.
And if you're listening right now and little things like the long line at the bank is a problem,
dude,
that's where we got to understand and realize that we need stress management.
It's funny. It's really funny that, you said that, because there's a lot of little things like that we could point out. Guys, listen, we're going to talk about stress management today, but before we get into that, if, any of these apply to you, this is going to be a very good topic, a good podcast, good episode for you to listen to, and really not just listen to, but implement the things that we're going to discuss today, which are all stress management techniques that I personally use. By no means is this like a comprehensive list of every stress management tool that's out there. Right. These just happen to be the 6 that I do on a consistent basis. Yeah. But, look, if you're somebody who, you get nervous, maybe if you got to speak up at work, or, if you're somebody who has a very, very difficult time having an uncomfortable conversation, if you're somebody who gets overwhelmed anytime, you have to deal with something new or something that you're not super familiar with, if that just completely short circuits your brain, this is indicative of the fact that you probably don't have the greatest capacity to deal with stress.
Right. And if you're listening to this, we know why you're listening to it, because you want to go to the next level. Yeah. So this is, like you said, an important conversation.
Yeah. Those little things, though, are kind of foreshadow how we will deal with those high stress situations. And, if you have a hard time basically having a discussion with the boss, or having a uncomfortable conversation, whether in the workplace, or in life, you need to take that as an indication that you probably need to do some things to not only develop your mental toughness and your discipline, but to manage your stress a little better as well, to where those situations aren't as stressful.
Agreed.
So, guys, what is stress management? All right, well, stress management, I suppose, is an outlet, an action, or a series of actions that you can take to basically help you break the hold that stress has over a lot of people's lives. It's going to give you the ability to handle stress in a productive manner, opposed to basically crumbling when
losing your
when things get off track, or the slightest inconvenience happens to come to the surface. And look, the purpose of stress management is to basically allow you to be a happier, healthier, and more productive individual. Because what we have to understand is, in life, conditions are not always going to be ideal. However, we have to develop the mentality and the ability and skill to be able to show up and, put out and do the things that we're supposed to do at the level we're supposed to do them at, even when it's hard, even when it's stressful, especially when it's hard and stressful. So, the ultimate goal of this, of course, is to have a balanced life with, where you have plenty of time for work, for relationships, rest, and fun, and to develop the resilience to be able to hold up under pressure and meet any challenges that show up in life head on. So guys, before we get into stress management techniques, let's talk a little bit about stress and why it's a bad thing, other than the obvious. I think, to a certain degree, people probably have some understanding or awareness that stress isn't good. They, I'm sure, are aware that they would prefer not to feel it.
Sure.
But I think that people might not really understand how bad this stuff actually is for you in the grand scheme of things. Hence why they're probably not taking some of these techniques as well. Hopefully by, arming them with this knowledge and making them aware and helping them understand just how bad stress is for them, that'll be a call to action.
I think I read an article somewhere that said 70-80% of the people that visit the hospital is for a stress-related illness or issue. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Well, so, look, the first bullet that I had listed here, stress causes pretty much every disease that you can imagine.
Well, that would be true, yeah.
Okay, and the reason for that is because of the havoc it wreaks on our immune system.
Yeah, and it can be physical or mental or spiritual.
It can be all that. And the another thing to point out that I don't think people are aware of this. In fact, I know most people aren't aware of it. Stress is a feeling, right? To most people, they think about stress, they think about being stressed, they think about a feeling, they think about being overwhelmed, having anxiety, just feeling shitty, whatever negative feelings come to mind when we think about being stressed. But what's actually interesting is stress is not only like a mental or psychological feeling. It's actually a physical being, because our bodies actually store stress. And when we experience stress, if we're not managing our stress and doing stress management techniques, we basically hoard the physical stress that's associated with stressors of the past. And why that's a problem is we basically are operating in a constant state of fight or flight, and we become, a lot of the reasons why people people who would be considered soft or kind of on the weak side, that aren't really, I don't want to say good under handling stress, but basically completely fall apart under stress or in stressful situations that aren't even that stressful, quite frankly. The reason that happens is because they're most likely hoarding a lot of stress from, months and years of whatever that they've been dealing with in their life. Look, we all deal with stress, but if we're not basically releasing that stress, that's when it becomes extremely problematic. And that's where chronic stress comes into play. And chronic stress is, the number one cause to most major disease and sickness.
Yeah, people are unaware. Like you'll talk to people that do body work, and they'll tell you when they work on people, sometimes they'll hit a spot where people will release something that they've been holding on to, and they'll cry or whatever. And it's interesting, right?
What's
hold on to stuff.
What's funny is I don't know if it's funny or a little disappointing, and as far as my lack of preparation, I created a list of 6 things that I do to mitigate my stress and manage my stress. And I didn't include the body work, which I do every single week. So maybe I'll touch on that when I get to bullet point number 5, but don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves here. Listen, stress is bad. Okay. It's going to cause you to get sick. It leads to every possible physical illness known to man, but it also is known to cause significant mental health issues like depression, anxiety, feelings of helplessness, and just an overall lack of purpose. So if, you're somebody who sometimes just ain't feeling it, and you're not feeling it for, a lot of times people get low and they feel depressed and they feel shitty, but they can't quite figure out why. And in most cases, it is because of this stress that you are holding in your body and not doing the proper things and taking the proper level of action to manage that stress to where it basically doesn't have control over every area of your life in a way that it's not serving you.
Yeah, you have to think of it as if you have stress, you're releasing chemicals. Those chemicals, after a while, are going to start to change things in your body and have an effect on them. And they're going to affect you on a cellular level at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And that could manifest into cancer or who knows? I mean, a million different things.
Well, we know what the hormone cortisol does. Would you like to share with the people what cortisol does?
I mean, they'll tell you that it overstresses your thyroid, and then you start to get all kinds of issues because if you're dealing with cortisol, your other hormones don't really have a chance to go and do their jobs, specifically like testosterone and estrogens that you need. The cortisol will steal that. They call it like a cortisol steal. So it can leave you just a plethora of different issues. So,
namely, it could lead to unwanted weight gain.
oh, that too. Yeah. That's one of the things, like the chemical thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, after a while, it affects your midsection.
You know, there's been studies done, and guys, please fact check me on this. Google this. There's been studies done that conclusively demonstrate that chronic stress and the release of cortisol, which is a byproduct of chronic stress, literally eats away at your brain.
Oh, that's interesting.
It eats away at your brain. So it will literally make you dumber, make you slower, make you, it disrupts cognitive function. Obviously, if it's eating away at parts of your brain, you're going to experience some sort of cognitive.
Which is interesting.
Right.
Because of all the issues we have with dementia today.
Well, exactly.
That didn't exist.
Lack of focus, memory issues, again, leading to dementia longer term. But these are all things that are obviously not advantageous to us living our best life. So we got to be aware. And, the part about cortisol, not only can it lead to weight gain when you're chronically stressed or highly stressed and constantly leaking cortisol, for lack of a better term, it's also going to make it significantly more difficult to lose weight if you're attempting to lose weight, as it were.
Sure.
So with that said, let's just get into some stress management techniques that I personally use and are part of my normal routine. And a little caveat, disclaimer, before we get into this. Okay, these 6 things, certainly they are tools that I use in my stress management arsenal, but they're also things that have numerous other benefits as well. So by no means is me doing the 6 things just, I'm not that stressed where I have to do all this fucking shit to make sure I don't lose my mind, although I am pretty stressed and sometimes I do feel like I'm going to lose my mind. But these are things that will have a multitude of benefits for you and your life, regardless of how stressed you are or are not. So the first thing, you and I agreed on this as far as what number 1 should be, and that's to get organized. Get organized, because being organized is being in control. What do we mean by that? Well, we mean that keep your house clean, right? At work, keep your desk and your workstation neat, meticulous, squared away, and in order. Okay, have things basically set up around you so you have everything you need labeled, filed, just handy to where, again, being organized is being in control. And a lot of people that are disorganized, a lot of people who are slobs, they're not aware of how stressful their setup is because it's always like that. And it wouldn't be until, maybe I don't know, maybe somebody finally said, hey, slob, clean your desk or get the hell out of here. Yeah. And then they did it and they realized how much better they felt. But, this is kind of well documented, something I talk about a lot years ago when I was around 26, 27, years old, trying to change, trying to figure out how to change and trying to figure out, where to start. The literal first thing that I started to do was make my bed. Yeah. I started to make my bed. And once I, was able to get consistent with that and started kind of like feel a little better and have a little more pride, man, I made my bed. I just felt a little better. And then it kind of escalated to making sure that I didn't have a sink full of dirty dishes. And then from there, I started to actually care about keeping my vehicle clean, inside and outside, not going in and into the car and having a bunch of cups or wrappers or whatever else. Yeah. And just getting myself organized in that capacity I became aware of how much better I actually felt. And this was, well over 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And I basically became addicted to that sense of organization and just taking it to levels that I try to be a very, very organized person as far as things that I keep, digitally, my house, my vehicle, my desk, my office. There's not a lot of stuff in my office. Over the last year and a half, I've significantly reduced and downsized the amount of stuff that I have in my house.
Yeah.
And it's just such an important element that's just underrated. Not only is it a demonstration of pride and attention to detail, it's an opportunity to manage your stress by just having things organized in your physical world, which will in turn help kind of keep things a little more organized in your mind.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the most important thing, because once you start getting a hold on that skill set, oh my God, your life will change. Like it's awesome. And then it will lead to other areas of your life. Like I said, you start personally, but then think about like trying to run a business where things aren't organized, or especially today, like when we have all these folders and files. Can you imagine this stuff's not organized?
Well, dude, let's talk about my Dropbox for a second.
Yeah.
How many times I've been like, I'm sending like CC emails. I'm like, guys, listen, this does not go here. You have to make sure you capitalize like, I try to keep things very, and when you get kind of, and then basically, let's not get organization confused with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
But I remember, the first time years and years ago when I went to your house where you were living at the time, like, it was very obvious to me that you were somebody who was very organized, very neat, very meticulous about how you had your things set up. And it was just like, I was like, okay, like first of all, I knew I liked this guy. And secondly, like seeing how you kind of took care of your stuff and the pride that you took in your home, it made me realize that I need to step my game up as well.
It just saves you so much time.
And
headache.
Well, so the thing, I guess a way to put it in perspective for people who are unaware and don't know any different is think about like how you're going to feel if you're in a very like peaceful, tranquil, calming, soothing environment. Okay, think about how you'll feel in that setting to where you are on the opposite side of the spectrum and you're in an environment that's just chaos, right? Biohazard alarms going off, like just all kinds of chaos breaking out all around you, like, flashbangs going off, just a very, very highly, like that's the metaphorical equivalent of operating, and whether you're living, driving, or working in a just disorganized, just environment.
It's true.
Yeah.
We've all been to the offices where shit is everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're usually not very successful.
No.
People. We've been to the offices where everything is in place and normal, and those people are usually pretty productive.
Yeah, very simple. I mean,
and calm. Like that's actually a good point you made. Like a nice calm environment,
Yeah.
like, or peaceful.
Yeah. I mean, this one's not only a good stress management technique, but it's just good for just overall, like I'm a winner.
Yeah.
And, I have pride in my environment. I have pride in my work. And, I take a great amount of pride in the details of my life, which, of course, your home, your vehicle, your workstation is all an extension of you. And how you do one thing, as we know, is how you do all things. So organize your shit, guys. All right. Make your bed. Don't have clothes laying all over your floor. Like, do a better job if you use a dish.
Go through your mail. Don't have your mail all over your floor and like you don't read it. It's just insane. Insanity. Yeah. It's terrible stuff.
Yeah, it's weird to me that and again, I'm not judging because I used to be this guy, but I look back and I'm like, God damn, I'm so glad I figured that out. Like having a sink full of dirty dishes, although it might not seem like an issue, or having a bed that's not made.
Yeah.
Right. It might not seem like an issue
to
right? you, which I completely understand, because if you don't have,
what's the difference? No one sees my bed but me, but it has a big effect.
If you just do this for like a week, and be mindful of like your being and how you feel, like you'll see what I mean, and you'll want more of that shit, because you feel eating good. It gives you a little more confidence, a little more pride, and then it makes you want to basically carry that confidence and that pride into other areas and reap even more benefits. So we won't spend too much more time on that unless you have anything else to add.
No, but you're exactly right. Doing the little things in one area translates to other areas, and then at the end, after a while, it translates to big areas, and that's when you really start to cash in on it.
Yeah.
But it starts at the little things we do.
Think about, I mean, we've all seen, I guess, pictures on social media or online of like just insane homes, like multi-million dollar mansions, yachts, private jets. What's the common denominator between all of them?
Yeah, they're all beautiful.
They're all beautiful,
kept.
well kept, squared away, and organized. And guys, it doesn't happen by accident. And anybody who diverts into that situation or reverts to the mindset, oh, well, they're rich, they can have somebody, whatever. Listen, okay, in order for you to get to the next level, regardless of what level you're currently at, you have to take pride in what you have now. You have to keep the things that you have now maintained at the highest level possible. Take pride in what you have now. Make what you have now nice, because if you don't, there's no way you get to that next level.
I agree. It's really good advice. Like, take it.
Cool. We'll move on, man. The second, I don't know if this is number 2. It happens to be the second on the list, but you got to work out, right? I mean, look,
it almost goes hand in hand with what we were just talking about.
I think working out, we can pretty much slide that as a practical action step in any topic that we discuss on this show. But guys, you got to work out. I mean, working out, I say this all the time, the benefits of training are just significantly beyond the physical. Although the physical benefits, you having a better body, right, which is going to give you more confidence, obviously improving your health and all those things, like, that's for sure. I mean, working out, without question, to me, is working out and eating good are the two, number 1 and number 2 most compelling life hacks and stress management techniques there is.
I would say that training was how I got into organization, because just that discipline of training all the time led to other things, and then the discipline of being organized just made sense.
Yeah,
because you organize your workouts too, in a way.
Movement is medicine. Yeah. Movement is medicine, guys. And when you're stressed, okay, it doesn't matter how stressed you are, you probably aren't going to feel like going to work out. Yeah. But it's funny because working out and getting some sort of physical exercise in is literally the best thing that you can do for yourself in that situation.
Dude, how many times have you not wanted to train, like really bad?
Like twice a week?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and then,
twice a week.
But then when you make yourself train, it's usually like a really good workout. Or in my cases, it really seems to, like, some of those workouts stick out to me because I'd be like, I don't want to train. And then I go in there and I just kill it. And then you feel so good after, and you're like, wow, it's so weird how that occurred, but it does.
What's even more weird than that is that feeling that you're talking about has been happening to me a little more frequently lately because I've had a lot going on.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But I'm familiar with that feeling. I'm familiar with that scenario. I've been dealing with it for years. It's something we all deal with. The funny thing is, it's like you still go through that little internal battle. Like you still go back and forth with like the little angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And it's still a struggle. Now you push yourself and you go do what the you're supposed to do. But it's really interesting how, even though, if you have the experience, if I go work out, it's going to make everything better. It's still very, very tough to do it. But again, that's actually the good part of it, because that's what separates the champions from everybody else. Yeah. Being willing to go and do the work when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
So yeah, guys, you got to work out, because movement is in fact medicine. And as we discussed and shared with you guys, when our bodies are exposed to stress and storing stress, okay, physical exercise gives us the opportunity to release some of that stress, and not only get a lot of good chemicals released in our brain that we can feel accomplished, we can feel proud, we can feel how we want to feel ideally, but it's also going to give us the ability to get the stress that our bodies are storing out.
It's therapy.
I mean, without question. I mean, like I said,
with such good dividends. Like, just what a
fail safe.
It's just unbelievable. The best
parabolic.
Honestly, I'll say of all the decisions in my life, probably starting to train at a young age was probably the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the best decisions I ever made.
Brother, with the trials and tribulations that I've been through, like over the years,
Yeah.
I honestly could not imagine how I would have gotten through it, if I even would have gotten through it,
Yeah.
had I not had the gym.
Yeah.
Because even in my darkest of days, I never stopped working out. And I'm actually very proud of that, because I recognize, I guess I didn't at the time, but looking back, I recognize how uncommon that is. I mean, there were times where I felt paralyzed, like mentally and emotionally paralyzed, but I still went and worked out. And when I did, it gave me just a little bit of energy to put forth some effort to help move me a little closer out of hell where I was at the time.
It's freaking magic.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like, it's so interesting. But yeah, if you're out there and there's a million excuses you can make not to do it, but get in there. I was in there the other night at 11 o'clock. I remember, I don't know what day of the week it was, a Wednesday. And I was laughing to myself. I'm like, I just turned 55. So I'm like, man, how many times have I done this? You know, and why do I still enjoy it? And I know why, for all the reasons we're talking about. Like, it's really magical.
It is. It certainly is. And, you know, when you're putting yourself in a physically stressful situation like you do when you're training, especially if you're doing hard training like we advocate and talk about. But regardless of hard training, hard is, I suppose, hard. I mean, everybody's level of hard is different.
Sure.
But when we're pushing ourselves hard, we're basically inducing a stress response. Okay, we're voluntarily inducing a stress response, which is going to give us the ability to kind of get acquainted
like
and
in
familiarized.
training. Yeah.
Right, we're training
For
the
stressful
stress of the real
situations in
world.
a weird kind of way.
No, that's exactly,
But in a
that's,
good way.
That's exactly what it is. And it's going to prepare you and put you in a position that, you know, when life sneaks up and, you know, throws a sucker punch and knocks you on your ass, you're actually in a position to fight back and win.
Right. So that when we train, it's a stress called EU stress, and you guys can look it up. It like I said, it prepares you for the bad kind of stress.
Yeah. Well, then we do know that there is a couple different, you need you need both.
Yeah.
Right.
You do.
The key is to learn how to deal with it when it shows up in your life. And moving on to the next thing. Oh, and by the way, guys, for what it's worth, I guess I wrote down here the frequency of which I do these things. With working out, I work out 6 days a week. I'm getting some form of movement in on, 7 days a week, whether stretching, which I'll get into later, or just cardio. But I'm doing some form of resistance training and cardio 6 days per week.
Yeah.
Again, everybody's goal is different, but I think if you want to live like a good life and you want to be well-rounded, and I'm not saying you have to make working out in the gym your number one priority, but if you want to live a strong life, you have to work out. And I'm thinking the minimum that you can do that and actually reap all of the benefits that are associated with physical training would be a minimum of 4 days per week.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I certainly would recommend getting
honestly,
some exercise daily.
Yeah. And if you can get into HIT training, like high intensity training, or even like MRF training, like that kind of stuff, like you're done in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's brutal. Like you do a lot of those workouts and they're freaking awesome, man.
I did one before we actually did this.
Yeah. I mean, it's like time. You can like a MRF training, or like that's stuff you can do at home. Like you just,
even if it's just getting up in the morning and doing, 100 jumping jacks, 50 burpees, 50 body weight squats, like just do something.
Yeah.
Right. Go outside, go for a walk. I mean, look, if you're obviously not in a position yet where you can do the burpees or the jumping jacks, like go for a walk.
Yeah. Walking has a ton of benefits that people underestimate, but it's a really good place to
just got to do something.
Yeah. Agreed.
So the number 3 on my list here is breathwork. Guys, I will tell you, end of 2019 is when I got put on to breathwork. And, breathwork in this context, right? People might think of meditation, which meditation, look, that's not on my list because admittedly, I don't meditate. I do breathwork. I do mindful breathing while I'm stretching. Which, in theory could be considered a form of meditation.
Yeah, I incorporate it into the way I train now. I try to breathe through my nose and because breath work, in a way, there's so many benefits too, like we're going to talk about. but we unconsciously do that when we train. We just don't think about it.
Right.
But if we organize it when we train, in a way, it's actually interesting.
Yeah.
Like I started to do that, and it's I don't know, it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, so there's a guy called Wim Hof. This man is a phenom. He's done some.
Really is.
I mean, he's done several impossible things. Yeah. But the reason he's been able to do it is because he has conditioned his mind to be able to withstand things that human beings are not supposed to withstand. But that's a whole other conversation. But the reason I bring him up is he is very well known for the breathwork routines that he's created. And basically it's very, very simple. You can go on YouTube and Google Wim Hof breathwork, and there's basically a tutorial. It's about 13 minutes long. Okay, I 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I do it within 15 minutes of waking up, and I go through it. It's basically 3 rounds of 30 breaths, 30 deep breaths, filling your lungs up at there, and then releasing the breath, but not releasing all of the air, right? Keeping a little bit in there. You do 30 breaths, you do a 90-second breath hold, and then you repeat the round. You do that 3 times. And, that's basically where I learned to breathe, by going through that tutorial, listening to it. It guides me through it. I laid out, I listened to it. But then, you notice when, if you're getting a little stressed, you feel stressed come on in your daily routine, you then can resort to that tool and do some breathing. Take, 3 to 5 deep, proper breaths, which, a lot of people don't realize that they breathe all day, but they're not really breathing.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of benefits, I believe, to nose breathing. Sorry, than mouth. If you can get into nose breathing, it's even more beneficial. But yeah, like you're saying, our nervous system has 2 sides. They work on like a push pull. You were mentioning it before, the fight or flight in the beginning of this. That's your sympathetic, and you have a parasympathetic side, right? So they push pull, and breathing. When you're in the fight or flight, which a lot of us are these days, just because of the way we live our lives. Yeah. You can actually, when you breathe, you start to pull on that parasympathetic side and pull back and lower your heart rate. So it starts to bring in the parasympathetic side to bring down the sympathetic side, which is interesting.
Yeah, damn right. So look, I mean, this is something that I think a lot of people can like. It's not super sexy, right? It's not.
No, but it's really good. Like,
it
him
is,
and I we've been talking
easy.
about this for a couple of years now. Yeah. And Wim's awesome because people have been breathing since the monks for centuries, right? But Wim was the guy who really brought it into the forefront lately because of the crazy things he does that are like impossible. But he shows that it's not impossible. It's just the using of the mind. I think one of the greatest things I like about the breath work is, for me, it's hard for me to get into a meditative state. I really,
it's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, my mind's all over the place like everybody else. But when I do the breath work, I do find that it, Wim says you get higher in your own supply. And I think there's some truth to that, or at least I feel it. And it allows me to get into a more meditative state where I can concentrate on things. And I use it to pray, but.
Yeah. So I think through the discovery process, through repetitions, through just the work that I've done, including breath work, to elevate my own consciousness, I think I kind of figured out why breath work does have stress relieving benefits. So at all times, because of this very fast paced, there's just so much information just in the world, and we're processing so much information at any given time. If we can basically compartmentalize ourselves in our awakened state for only 12, 13 minutes. That's what 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing is. If we can breathe mindfully for 30 seconds, focusing on nothing but the breath, clearing all the junk out of our head for the most part. And when you're breathing like that, and you're really like thinking and focusing on the breath, it's kind of easy not to think about everything else, because you're not just breathing, you're taking a very deliberate full breath and blowing it out, and you have to think about what you're doing, and he's guiding you throughout the tutorial. So it's actually quite easy to not think about anything else for that short period of time because of the exercise you're doing. But I think because of the constant stimulation that our minds and brains are used to, I think even 12 to 13 minutes of clarity of just having a mind that is not full, right?
Yeah.
Instead of having your mind be full, actually be in a mindful state. I think that just gives us the opportunity to decompress.
But it even carries, like you said, it takes 15 minutes to do the rounds. But for me, like if you sit there and, like I said, it allows me to meditate in
Yes.
an easier state. So then that can be prolonged.
Well, you come
But
out of it, what I'm saying, you come out of it more relaxed. You come out of it more like mentally energized and refreshed and calm, which then, of course, you take with you throughout the rest of the day, provided you're doing it in the morning as I do.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, guys, check it out. Wim Hof Breathwork on YouTube.
Is it W-I-M?
Yeah, WIMHOF. You're going to find a million things about him.
Guy.
Feel free to do whatever due diligence, but really what you're looking for is the tutorial. So maybe add tutorial at the end of Wim Hof to find the deal that I do. Again, I do that 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. First thing in the morning, start my day off strong. And I hope some of you guys get some value out of that. I mean, I hope you guys actually do it, because if you do it, then you certainly will get value from it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many values we're not even talking about, like with the breathing and the use of muscles in your chest and like around your heart. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things that fall into that too. Again, we're talking about stress management techniques. That's certainly a tool that I reach for in my stress management arsenal, and I'm hoping
free.
It's fucking free.
Yeah, it's free.
It is free. But moving on, the next thing, cold showers, man. And I do this every day. How often do you do them? I do them every day, like literally every day, sometimes twice a day. It gets to a point where, like, I don't know that I actually take, I use warm water or hot water unless I'm shaving my body. Like if I'm shaving my arms or my chest, like I'll change it to hot. But I'm just so like addicted to the cold and the benefits, and I'm just aware that it's like really good for me. So I'm not like trying to limit myself to it, right?
Yeah,
but when I first started, I had to.
It's funny because you start thinking, well, it's just not cold enough.
No, that's so true.
Right? Because you're like, it's not even cold.
Yeah, especially in like the summer months here.
Oh yeah, well the summer, yeah.
But for people who would just be exposing themselves to it, it's going to feel like you're going to die. And then
uncomfortable.
People think, oh no, I'll get sick if I do that. No, not true. Not f***ing true. Like, because your grandma said, hey, put a jacket on or you're going to get a cold. She was lying. Or she didn't know what the f*** she was talking about. Sorry, grandma.
She didn't know.
She didn't know.
Yeah.
Grandma was just, she had your best interest in mind, but she just didn't know.
Yeah. And again, like Wim is kind of one of these guys who's bringing this idea to the forefront. And
the reason you won't get sick is because cold water immersion, whether we're talking cold showers or ice baths, it's not going to get you sick. It's actually going to do the opposite. Yeah. It's actually going to strengthen your immune system. It's going to give your immune system a boost, as it were. So I mean, look, that's another strong benefit of cold showers. But cold showers, it's an opportunity to expose yourself to a little stress that stimulates the stress that we're going to experience in life. That voluntary exposure is going to condition your nervous system to basically learn how to tolerate and deal with stress in a far more efficient manner than if you don't.
Yeah. And then it also makes you feel good after, which is interesting too, right?
Well, I think, when we do things that are uncomfortable, right? And we put ourselves in situations where we're doing hard things. I think that the human reward system is oddly actually linked.
Maybe the link that like the release of endorphins or
after the fact, like, look, we did something hard and we feel really good. Why is that? It's like since the beginning of time, I think, like you look at, when our ancient ancestors, they had to fight for their survival, and they had to like go to battle with a saber-toothed tiger or a bear or something, putting themselves in very, very dangerous situations. But the reward after that was they get to feed their family, they get to survive, right? And like I think throughout time, as we've evolved, there still has been that just gene in our brain that links feelings of accomplishment and purpose and fulfillment with doing really, really hard things. And it's also, does amazing things for our confidence when we're doing things that are hard and uncomfortable. Like it gives us that belief and that vibe that like, look, we're going to step into this and it's going to be hard. And, whatever happens, like, I know that I'm going to be ready and able to deal with it regardless of what comes up.
Yeah. One more tool in the tool
Exactly.
shed.
And you know, we're talking about cold showers. Like, this is like, you know, probably the easiest one, because
Yeah, it is.
like, it's the easiest one. I mean,
It should be.
It's the easiest one as far as your ability to execute upon it.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Simple. Jump in.
just jump in. Don't try to ease your way into it. Like, it's going to be cold. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys, if you haven't done this before, your natural instinct is going to try to fight that cold. You're not going to win that battle.
Yeah.
That's a battle you're just simply not going to win. The key is to breathe. The key is not to focus on how cold it is, because whatever we focus on, like, becomes more significant, becomes worse in this instance. So the key is to become one with it, embrace it.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
let it in.
So
like,
what he's saying is so true, because we both grew up in Boston.
Yeah.
And I froze my ass off there. I was never warm. I was always like, you know, I had no fat on my body and I was freezing. And I wish I understood that concept. It would have made Boston so much easier for me.
I agree.
Because I fought all the time and I was just freezing. But if you just accept it, it's not bad and you're not going to die.
Bro, like, winters were
crazy.
so miserable up there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
had we had the perspective,
I wish I did.
Dude.
Would have made everything different. I might not have moved.
yeah.
Who knows?
So guys, you got to understand that when you're dealing with cold water and it sucks, and you're like, oh, this is uncomfortable, I don't want to do this. Like, no, that's not what you think. Actually, what you think is, this is good. This is actually amazing. I'm enjoying this because I know it's helping me become more mentally tough, resilient. It's building my confidence. It's improving my immune system. And it is essentially allowing me to put myself under a stressful situation that is simulating the stress that I'm going to experience in the real world, therefore giving me the competitive edge and the jump to handle that stress and those stressful situations when they pop up. No simpler, easier, more just straightforward, efficient opportunity to manage your stress than cold showers.
Yeah, and we're not saying you can't have warm water. Warm is good. We all like warm, and it feels good. But if you end with cold, or sometimes I shuttle. I go hot for a couple minutes, cold for a couple minutes.
I'm not going to recommend that to the people, only because that's not what I do. Like, I do. I'm not saying don't use warm water. Yeah. I think that if you're going to get the actual benefit, the most out of it that is possible, I think you need to go
you're right,
into the cold.
Yeah.
You need to step foot into the cold. Don't because
there's
in the morning.
I was going to say, there's one more thing about the cold.
I thought you were putting on this light that keeps going on.
No, it's just, we have a short. But there's one more thing about the cold, which is interesting too, in regards to stress, in regards to breath work, what we were talking about. Is when you get in cold water, you don't think about a damn thing else except the cold water. Yeah. And it actually clears your mind. Yeah. And it allows you to just take a break from all this insanity noise that's in our head. And that's what Wim talked about when he actually went into the cold the first time, when he was under a very stressful part of his life. He said it was the only time he had felt peace in so long, because he had so much noise in his head. And from there, he learned his techniques.
Yeah, so
it's true.
Cold showers every day. There's no reason not to, right? You can, therefore you should. I personally go in there and you know, I don't always turn the water warm. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not saying you guys have to do that.
But you know, I do it. So what happens is the blood rushes back and forth between the hot and cold.
Yeah.
So it causes a really big shuttling and movement, almost like you're training with your blood.
Yes.
So that breaks up a lot of things and creates health.
I've also been doing this for 6 years, and the next thing I'm going to talk about is my sauna routine, which does exactly what you're saying. But guys, like, don't let me get in your head like, oh, Chris does. Don't worry about what I do. Listen, if you get yourself up to the point where you can do this for 3 minutes. It does not matter if you go in and it's warm and do cold, or go cold and warm, or whatever.
As long as you feel that uncomfortableness of the cold and embrace it. That's the main thing. I think embracing it, not like fighting it, shivering and hating every minute.
Welcome it. Be grateful for it. Be thankful for it, 'cause it's making you better.
That's the true essence of it. If you can get in there and embrace it and love it, oh my God, I'm telling you, things are going to change.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a perspective that will carry over with you when you deal with the stress of the real world that a lot of people just erroneously categorize and believe is breaking them down. Yeah. When in fact, a lot of times when we face adversity and there's some stressful situation or problem going on, that's actually something that can build us up, but
Yeah.
only if you maintain that empowering perspective and mentality towards it.
Agreed.
So moving on, next thing, stretching. Look, game changer for me. I know a lot of people don't stretch. I personally, this is how ignorant I tend to be, even as a mature professional. Like, before 2000, what year? 2022. When did I start stretching? I started stretching, I think,
2019.
no, dude. It was no, it was a pandemic. Around the pandemic, I started stretching. 2020, the middle of 2020. I mean, the pandemic has been going on forever. Who knows, right? But when it was real, like when we thought that, like,
I remember when you told me. And
well, dude, we all had some time and energy that was essentially gifted to us because the world kind of was different for a little bit. You couldn't do all the things. So like I wanted to use that energy productively and I always wanted to be really flexible. And I always actually was like really flexible for somebody who never stretched. But I'm getting a little older and I wanted to, I want to make it so as I get older, like I continue to get better. And the only way that happens is if I'm introducing new shit and changing it up.
Yeah.
And look, stretching, it was tough to get going with it and to start following a routine because, again, not super sexy, not super exciting. Like if, you are not somebody who's familiar with stretching, you've never stretched before, you can't do the movements the way, like if you're looking at a video and you're seeing them demonstrate, you don't look like that. And that's fucking frustrating. But man, I'm so glad that I did. And it's funny because it took me about a year to get consistent, to get like consistent, to get where I was 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week, no less than 3, like surgical. It took me over a year to actually make that happen, because I would get consistent, then I would fall off. But, now like I have developed such a positive association with stretching, not so I'm not sore, not so my workouts are better, although that actually does happen. It does mitigate soreness. It does improve my performance and capacity during training. Yeah. But what I didn't realize, and it took me over a year to realize this, Rick, probably even more, is stretching actually makes me less stressed.
What kind of makes sense, right?
So
because there's a stress when you're stretching.
Well, not only that,
so it's kind of like a eustress in a way.
I think the type of stress I think the type of, when I say stretch and stretching, I think what people are thinking about is maybe like an athlete who is about to work out or just did work out and doing like a stretch like after the workout. So that's not the type of stretching that I'm talking about, although that does certainly release physical stress. I'm talking about basically like yoga. I have this app, called it's the Ramad app, range of motion workout of the day. And basically they're like 20 to 25 minutes. And actually you can type in, there's a section you can go to, like how much time you have, under 10 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and it'll give you a stretching workout to follow along with. And they basically tell you what to do, how long to do it, and the huge benefit. And I think the reason, by the way, that it took me over a year to realize that stretching was actually the ultimate stress management tool is, for the first year, I ignorantly was just following the stretching protocols and not doing the breathing that they were suggesting. Like when you go to yoga, I don't know if you've ever done yoga, but if you go to yoga, like the movements are heavily influenced and reliant upon the breathing. So when I started doing these, I'm like, I'm stretching, like, look, I'm just going to focus on that. I don't need to do all the breath. Like, again, ignorant. It was so ignorant because I can't tell you why I did that other than sheer ignorance that I wasn't aware of at the time. But when I started breathing, and then I realized, man, this was just me like using an excuse to avoid the work, because the stretching, I mean, that's work certainly, but stretching and focusing on your breath and clearing your mind so you can actually get deeper in the into the stretch. The more clear your mind is, the less stress your body has. Therefore, the more capable and flexible you become. So when I started to actually breathe like the way that you're supposed to breathe when you're doing these stretches, I noticed like my stretches got deeper, like immediately.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But stretching, bro, for me has just changed everything, and it's really, it's such a gift because I love it. I very, very rarely, sometimes I'll do like a little stretching if I'm doing a certain type of workout, but predominantly the stretching sessions that I do are either very early in the morning or at night, an hour and a half before I go to bed.
That's something I could definitely improve on.
Yeah. And the reason I do it that way, okay. Well, first of all, I mean, stretching is amazing, as it relates to fitness. The thing is though, when, you get through a workout, or if I get through one of my workouts, like I'm very tired, my heart is beating a million miles an hour by design, I'm out of breath. It is essentially impossible to do the stretches with the appropriate breathing when your respiratory system is firing at, you're redlining at that point.
Yeah.
So, I want to take advantage not only of the stretching benefits, but of the mindful breathing that I'm doing along with it. And honestly, this is a valuable tool, guys. And look, I'm throwing a lot at you here. By no means do you have to incorporate all these at once, but take something away from this. I certainly didn't start all these at once. It's been a process where I bring in new tools and add new tools to my toolbox, and those tools are there for me to utilize on a consistent basis. That essentially helps me manage my stress, to give me the ability to deal with stress more, and also improve my, obviously not only my health, but just my discipline, and just make me a more capable, productive human being.
Agreed.
So the ROMWAD app, guys, I think I pay like $130 a year for it. One of the best investments I've ever made as it relates to my health and fitness, because you don't have to think. Like a lot of people will use the excuse they don't stretch because they don't know how to stretch.
Yeah.
Well, this app is beautiful. There's a new workout every day. There's a library of thousands of different ones that you can follow, and it basically tells you how to do all the different stretches.
I mean, yoga is pretty awesome.
Yoga's amazing.
I just never did it because it's a time thing.
So this is yoga.
I've done yoga, and I understand, and I have friends that have done miraculous things. That had like Diamond Dallas Page was telling me like he couldn't even wrestle anymore.
Yeah.
He had like 4 surgeries on his back.
Yeah, and he's doing really good with his company.
He came over to my house. That guy was on fire for it. Like, and he changed my whole perspective. I was like, really? And he's like, no, I do power yoga. It's none of this, spiritual thing. Like he was just like, he really caught my attention with it. And then I looked at some of the people he worked with and helped, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
The workouts that on this range of motion mobility, it's basically what the kind of nickname for it is broga. Broga. Basically, it's a little like yoga is awesome, and I love yoga, and I've done it, and I will do it again. But there's a little more of a feminine vibe that's attached. That's not my perspective. That is just the reality of the beast. With the range of motion mobility workouts, it's kind of new. It's more neutral. It's cool. More, when you're watching the tutorials, there's always like a guy and a girl, and it shows the different variations, and it's good stuff. So I did that 3 days a week. And, honestly, it's at a point now where, I've just developed this awareness with my body that like, if I miss a stretching session or, go a week without stretching, which, I think I did here fairly recently, I don't feel as good. Like not only is I feel my body tight, like I have developed an awareness that like, okay, I'm holding more stress. Things are, I'm triggered a little more than I should be. Like little thing, I'm maybe perhaps overreacting or overthinking about something. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Obviously I'm more stressed, and I'm trying to think, okay, that's right. I'm slacking on my stretching workouts. That's cool. So, and I use something called the psoas. Your so right is basically.
You told me about this a while back.
Dude, I got to get you one, man. Like, so your psoas is basically the most important muscle that most people don't know about. And it's basically where your body stores physical stress. It's right here. Most lower back pain is actually associated with very tight psoas. So when we go through life and we're stressed and we're kind of tensing up, we're going to store that stress in our psoas. the Sorite is basically this like plastic contraption that you basically lay on and essentially like impales you. But it pushes up on your psoas and releases all of the stress, tension, and just tightness that's in that muscle. And it's basically going to relieve any sort of tightness or pain you may have in your lower back. It can actually help with knee pain, but moreover, like it legitimately reduces physical stress. Like you feel different when your psoas is loosened up, and most people, again, their psoas is constantly tight.
They don't know.
They don't know.
It's a way of life.
I didn't know. I mean, this thing sat in a box. The company reached out to me on Instagram and asked if they could send me one, and I was like, oh, I heard Joe Rogan talk about them before, so I was like, yeah, please send it. And it sat in a box under my coffee table for about 1 year and 3 months before I took it out of the box and started playing with it. And then I started becoming so fascinated about the psoas.
I remember you told me you were like on fire for it. I was like, wow,
dude,
okay.
I'm not only on fire for that, I'm just on fire and just really passionate about the psoas and how important this muscle is that most people don't even know about, and how much better life can be.
I had never heard about it until you told me.
Yeah, dude, it's where it's where our bodies store physical stress.
Good to know.
So yeah, and I use the Sorite, super inexpensive thing that, the beauty of it is like you can lay on it when you're watching TV or whatever. Like it's not something we have to be physically active doing, but it's basically the same thing as if you get a deep tissue massage, right? And they're basically working out the tension and the knots and all the any type of abnormalities that you might have in your muscle tissue. It's basically doing that with the most important muscle that you have as it relates to stress and stress management.
Cool.
So the last thing here that I have on my list, man, and we will wrap it up, is the sauna. I think if anybody listening to this, if you have followed me for any amount of time, you know that I am a huge fan and advocate of the sauna for many reasons, for many reasons. It obviously has a lot of health benefits associated with the circulation benefits that it offers. With circulation is everything. Obviously, it contributes to a stronger immune system, allows you to sweat out toxins and things that shouldn't be in your body.
For detox, and it turned out to be a lot more important than that. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, improve your skin because of that factor. It can help with weight loss, but also, of course, it wouldn't be on this list or being discussed right now if it wasn't also a very effective stress management tool. And the reason that is again, like we are putting our bodies under mild stress, and the heat shock proteins that are essentially released when we have that increased heat exposure are going to do a lot of things. Okay, one of which it's going to give us just a calm, clear, just kind of soothing vibe. That when you walk out of the sauna, like you walk out different. I'm sorry, if you walk into a sauna and you spend 20 minutes in there, you are not going to walk out in the same state. It's just I just don't know that it's actually possible.
No, it makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
It's so it does similar things that the ice bath does, but in a different direction.
Just the opposite process.
Yeah.
But it basically has the exact same result and a lot of the same benefits.
Yeah.
But yeah, anytime that we can, whether it's cold immersion or, the heat exposure, like it's anytime that we put our bodies under stress, like good things are going to, a lot of people hear about beast mode. And like, I don't think a lot of people understand where that actually originated from or how that term came to be. When, we're basically in situations where our fight or flight response is activated, as it is when we take cold showers, ice baths, saunas, do hard workouts, HIIT training, that type of thing. We basically put ourselves in a survival mode. And that's actually when we become the most capable. That's why, you hear stories about, a mother that was able to do some crazy shit, like
pick up a car,
pick up a vehicle that was, on her child's leg or this is what human adrenaline can do. And, the more we condition ourselves to those, the more capable we actually become. Like, you go into beast mode because you end up just basically activating your primitive instincts with these different tools that are available to us. A lot of them are free, as we've discussed today, that put you not just in a better position to be healthier or fitter, but to win in all areas of life, including business, including with your career, including with your finances. Because look, how far you go in life in a professional capacity is without question directly related to how much you can take. Okay. The more responsibility that you have, well, the higher you go, the more responsibility you're going to have.
The more stress you're going to meet.
Correct. Yeah. The more responsibility you have, the organic byproduct that comes right along with that is having more stress. That's just part of the deal. So what we have to do if we want to like evolve and level up and become, people that are kicking ass in the world, kicking ass in business, making a ton of money, like we have to learn to deal with stress better, because the stress ain't going away. All you guys out there trying to avoid it, dude, if you want to like live a miserable life and guarantee that you just are constantly having problems and feeling like shit, keep trying to think that you're going to somehow crack the code and live a life absent of stress. That's ridiculous. And honestly, that it's a guaranteed formula to live a unfulfilled life. Yeah, man. Okay. What you need to learn to do is learn to deal with it better, and learn that when it pops up, you don't avoid it. You don't go trying to like hide in the middle or hide behind somebody else or bury your head in the sand and hope and pray that just magically goes away. No, you lean into it, and you understand by doing so, it is making you a better, more capable human being.
Agreed. Start with the organization. It's a great list. Dude. Work your way down.
Yeah. I would say do your best to do what you can. I mean, if I had to, hopefully the people that are listening to this are already exercising, right?
I'm sure they've dabbled in.
Yeah. Maybe go a little harder. Maybe go a little harder in the gym, right? But the things that you can literally do like immediately, or, I'm going to be honest, I would be slightly offended if the people who are listening to this now didn't like, as they're listening to it, begin to like kind of organize their surroundings and like whereabouts. But in all seriousness, guys, I really hope that you will take on board what we talked about today. These are elements that, I do, that Rick does, not only we do currently, but these are things that have literally helped me change my life in profound ways. And I know that if you take action and execute the things that we talked about today, it'll do the same for you. That's that's a fact.
It will.
It's a fact. Yeah. It just is. So, all right, guys. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. Hope that you got value out of this. Do us a favor. Leave us a review. Go to iTunes. Leave us a review. And please understand, by doing so, you are basically showing us and telling us that you appreciate what we're doing. You appreciate the content. And it just pays it forward. You're paying it forward to us by helping other people find us, helping other people learn a little more about the podcast, and which, of course, that gives us the ability and opportunity to, not only reach more people, but help and impact more people. And that's why we do this, guys. Obviously, we don't charge anything for it. We don't have any sponsors. Like, we do this out of love and the genuine desire to help people get better. So you can help us help more people by taking just a few minutes to leave a review, and just know that it means a lot to us. We love hearing you guys' feedback. We love hearing how the podcast has impacted your life. I probably should have said that first, because that, although I do appreciate, them helping us grow the podcast and reach more people, I agree the personal fulfillment and joy that I get from reading some of the testimonials and stories that our listeners share.
Yeah, it inspires us. Yeah. I want to do more.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, guys, much love. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Rick, thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate it.
See you guys soon.